I don't actually have enough. I'm sorry. I'll just go." He said it so quietly that Wren Calloway almost missed it beneath the hiss of the espresso machine. But she caught it, the way you catch something falling before your mind fully registers your hand moving. The man at the counter was maybe 33, wearing a jacket that had seen better seasons, his jaw carrying 3 days of unattended stubble. His eyes were the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. He was already stepping back from the register, already folding the embarrassment inward, already making himself smaller. Wren had been a barista at Groundwork Coffee on Clement Street for 4 years. She had seen every kind of customer the city produced, the rushed, the rude, the tender, the lost. She knew, with the quiet certainty of someone who had once stood on the other side of not enough, exactly what she was looking at. She slid the cup across the counter before he finished his sentence. "Medium dark roast," she said simply. "On me. Don't argue." He looked at the cup, then at her. Something moved across his face that he clearly hadn't planned for. "I'll pay you back," he said. "You don't have to. I want to." She met his eyes steadily. "Then do something kind for someone else someday. That's the only currency I accept." No, he picked up the cup with both hands, like it was warmer than just coffee, and found a corner seat. He sat there for nearly 2 hours. He didn't bother anyone. He just sat, thinking whatever quiet and heavy thoughts a man thinks when the ground beneath him has gone uncertain. His name was Beckett Crane. She didn't know that yet. She didn't need to. Wren Calloway was 27. She had grown up in Fresno with a mother who worked 2 jobs and a father who had left early enough that she barely had a picture of his face. She'd put herself through community college, moved to San Francisco at 22 with 1 duffel bag and a reference from a bakery manager who barely knew her name. She'd found the barista job in her first week and had stayed because the owner, a tired, decent man named Mr. Fitch, let her close early on Tuesdays so she could take an online business course she was slowly, quietly finishing. She didn't talk about the course much. Ambition, she had learned, was something you carried carefully in a city that had a way of reminding you of your place. But she was good at her job in ways that went past technical. She remembered regulars' orders. She noticed when someone came in with red eyes and quietly added an extra shot. She kept a small jar of her own money beside the register, $10 she replenished each week, for exactly the moments like the one with Beckett Crane. That afternoon, she didn't think about it again. She cleaned the steam wands, wiped the counter, and went home to her studio apartment and her business course and the leftover soup she'd made Sunday. 6 weeks passed. On an ordinary Wednesday morning, a man in a clean gray coat walked into Groundwork Coffee before the rush. Wren looked up from restocking the cup sleeves and did a small, private double take. It was him. The jacket was different. The exhaustion was gone. He stood differently, not stiffly, but settled, like a man who had found his footing again. He carried himself with a quietness that was composed now rather than collapsed. He stepped to the counter. "Medium dark roast," he said. Then, after a pause, "And I believe I owe you something." Wren looked at him for a moment. "You don't." "Wren," he said her name, from her name tag, she realized, with a steadiness that made her pay attention. "I meant what I said. I don't forget kindness. It's actually the only thing I've never been able to forget." She made his coffee. He took it and sat, same corner seat. But this time, before he left, he came back to the counter and slid a business card across to her. Beckett Crane, CEO, Harlow Coffee Group. Wren stared at it. Harlow Coffee Group owned 47 coffee shops across the West Coast, including, she now understood with a slow and disorienting clarity, Groundwork Coffee on Clement Street. Mr. Fitch had sold the shop 8 months ago to a holding group. She had never thought to look into who owned the holding group. She looked up. Beckett was watching her with a calm expression that held something careful underneath it. "You own this shop," she said. "I own this building," he said quietly. "I was here 6 weeks ago doing a quiet walkthrough. My car had been towed. My wallet was in the car. It was," he paused, "a genuinely bad day in a genuinely bad month." He looked at her steadily. "And you gave me coffee, without hesitation, without making me feel small." Wren set the card down. Her voice, when it came, was even. "That's just what you do." "No," Beckett said gently. It isn't. I've been in this industry for 10 years. What you did is rarer than you know. He came back every Wednesday. Not to check on the store. She understood after the second week that groundwork ran so smoothly it didn't need checking. He came because he drank his coffee in the corner, and sometimes they talked, briefly, in the quiet between rushes. She mentioned the business course once, offhandedly. He asked about it with genuine interest, not the polite interest of someone waiting for a pause, but the real kind. He asked follow-up questions the next Wednesday, and the one after. What neither of them said aloud for a long time was that they were both people who had built themselves without much help. Beckett had started Harlow with a single shop in Portland at 26, after growing up in a household where money was a source of anxiety rather than comfort. He understood, at a cellular level, what it meant to be at a counter hoping the math would work out. One afternoon, he arrived to find Wren not behind the counter, but at a side table, a laptop open, her face tight with concentration. Her shift had ended 20 minutes ago. She hadn't left. He bought his own coffee from the afternoon barista and sat nearby. "Final module?" he asked quietly. She exhaled. "Final project. I keep rewriting the market entry section." He was quiet a moment. Would it help to talk it through? They sat there for an hour and a half. He didn't rewrite it for her. He asked questions, the kind of questions that made her answer her own problems. At the end, she looked at what she'd written, and it was better. Genuinely better. "You're good at that," she said. "Someone did it for me once," he said simply. A professor who had no real reason to stay late. She did anyway. He looked at her for a moment. Kindness has a long memory, Wren, longer than most people realize. When she completed her certification, Beckett called her into a meeting, formally, professionally, and offered her a role developing Harlow's Community Initiatives program. A program, he explained, designed to identify employees across the chain who showed exceptional character and support their growth within the company. She sat across from him in that clean, quiet office. "Why me?" she asked. He leaned forward slightly. "Because 4 years ago, or 6 weeks ago, or any given Wednesday, you have never once made a single person feel like a burden for needing something." He paused. "That is exactly the quality this program needs to be built around." Wren looked down at the table. Something in her chest, the part that had carried a lot of quiet uncertainty for a long time, settled. "I'd need to keep one Tuesday free," she said finally, "for things I'm still learning." Beckett smiled, the real kind, always. Kindness doesn't ask what someone deserves. It simply reaches across the counter and offers warmth before the question is even finished. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the world reaches back in ways you never imagined when you slid that cup across the counter and meant nothing by it except you matter. That is always enough to begin. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.